Mike Mayock's the top 5 quarterbacks for the upcoming NFL draft. And since we got a tie for 5 there at the bottom with Lefevre and Tony Park, we're going to go with the top 6. It's expected Sam Bradford, he'll definitely go in the first round. Jimmy Clausen, most likely. Colt McCoy, as you've said, Mike, in the past, potentially a second rounder. Maybe could sneak in at the bottom of the first round. We've moved to the midfield position here in our studios. Mike's with us along with Mike Keith. And here we look, guys, at the quarterbacks who were drafted #1 overall since 2000. And their records as starters, and really, if you look at Matthew Stafford, Alex Smith, Eli Manning, and Carson Palmer, of the 7 names there, those are the 3 who are doing well or hanging on. And as we move forward towards the 2010 draft, Mike Mayock, let me start with you. What are the perils of drafting a quarterback in the first round? Forget about #1 overall.
Yeah, let's take a step back and think about this. It's kind of interesting because measurables come into play so much at all the positions in the NFL draft. And I think we make our most mistakes when we rely too much on the measurables. At the quarterback position, how big is his arm? Can I look at his feet? You can check all those things out, but at the end of the day, the most important thing to me are the intangibles. What kind of leader is he? Is he going to be the first one in the building every morning? How tough a kid is he? Can he process and assimilate more information than a NASA astronaut in 1.5 seconds? If the answer to any one of those are no, I don't want you in the first round. Look at Jamarcus Russell a couple years ago. Most impressive pro day I've ever seen in my life for a quarterback. And I made the comment after that, I couldn't take him in the first round. Why? He showed up 20-some pounds overweight at the combine. Didn't look like he cared about the game of football. And I say this about every position, but particularly quarterback. After God and family, in whatever order you believe in, football better be number 3. And I believe that with all my heart. And you better take a kid like a Matt Ryan, a Peyton Manning, somebody who it means an awful lot to if you want that kid to be the face of your franchise.
And, Mike, you've seen it firsthand with the Tennessee Titans. And we just talked about the ups and downs of Vince Young. It's on an upswing, but it hasn't always been so rosy.
Well, I think part of it has to do with how does that young man adjust when the other teams in the league adjust to you. For example, we know about Vince Young's running. He's famous for having done at Texas, the great run against USC in that Rose Bowl victory. Overall, he ran to the right, he ran to the right, he ran to the right. In 2007, teams started to take that away, Fran. And so when that happened, he had to make adjustments. That was hard for him at first. We're seeing him be able to make adjustments in his game to the adjustments that people have made to him, and that's something that a quarterback has to do.
We know that Sam Bradford's going to be taken in the first round. One quarterback who's really interesting is Jimmy Clausen, because there's a lot of talk about possibly the Redskins maybe jumping up and grabbing him at the number 4 spot. Your thoughts on Clausen when you take a look at a quarterback who he has all the, as you mentioned, all the physical attributes and the measurables, but the off-the-field stuff in terms of the intangibles from a mental perspective?
He's an interesting test case because from a physical skill set perspective, he reminds me a lot of Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez last year, obviously the Jets traded up into the top 10 to get Mark Sanchez. So here's a kid coming out of a pro-style attack. He's a good athlete. He's got a big arm, not a great arm, but a very good arm. He's got good footwork. You can see him make every NFL throw he's going to have to make. So he's an easier case to evaluate than most of the spread option quarterbacks. Why is there so much concern about this kid? Because he's not Mark Sanchez off the field. Is he a leader? How tough is the kid? Is he entitled? Did he walk into Notre Dame thinking that he was way too entitled and didn't have to work as hard as everybody? Did he ride a limo in high school to his high school letter of intent ceremony? So there are all these stories swirling around. This young man has got to walk into the meeting room, and he's got to look the GM in the eye, and he's got to get up on the board and convince them, I'm a leader of men. I'll be the first guy in the building. I will absolutely study everything that has to be studied and make all the right decisions. And if you take me at number 4 or number 14 or 16, wherever, I'm your guy.
Your thoughts?
I think it's absolutely right. I mean, outside of President of the United States, being an NFL quarterback is about as hard as it gets. Because this isn't high school where you're the prom kid. This isn't college where you're the big man on campus. The franchise is on you. You're going to be scrutinized. You've got to be tough. You've got to have thick skin. You've got to lead guys in tough situations. That's the thing people can't know in the evaluation. That's why it's hard to know when you select a guy that highly, hey, are we doing the right thing? You can see all the measurables. but do you know what's in here? Do you know what's in here? The truth is, you can't know until you see him in action. That's what makes it so difficult.
And we've seen success stories, of course, and we've also seen some big-time busts. But there's a lot of money at stake. But more importantly, as you guys both mentioned, the franchise is at stake. Because you make a mistake with a quarterback in the first round, you're setting yourself back 3 or 4 or 5 years.
You make a mistake in the top 10 at any position, you're in trouble. But because of the money paid to the quarterback, if you make a mistake at the quarterback in the top 10 pick, your franchise is finished for 5 years.